In this video, I'm going to share on Tong School Primary 5 Math 2024 Term 3 Review or Weighted Assessment 3. Let's get started on the first question. Okay, question 1, right? So 40 tennis balls have a mass of 2,319.6 grams. What's the mass of each tennis ball? Give your answer correct to one decimal place. So essentially, 4 tennis balls 40 balls is equal to 2,319.6 grams. Okay, so we want to know what's the mass of each tennis ball. So it's basically one ball is equal to this number 2,319.6, then divide by 40. Okay, so since we can use the calculator, right, that's what I'm going to do. 2,319.6 divided by 40, and this gives us 47.99. So we're going to write down 47.99. However, we want to give our answer over here to the one decimal place. Okay, so not K, right? It's grams. But so we want to make this into one decimal place. So in essence, the one decimal place is over here. So we need to look at our previous number. Okay, so 9 over here, basically. So 9 is 5 or more, which means we can round up. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to use the curly equal sign, right? And this will give us basically, in this case, what do you think will give us? So we will plus 9 over here. So I'm going to create a small little text to say plus 1 to 9 over here. Right, this plus 1, just put 9 over here. So 57.9, if you do our workings, right? So let's say over here, 57.9 plus 0.1, this will give us 58. That means each ball is 58 grams. And that is the answer. All right. All right. So we're going to put here 58 grams. That's what we see over here, 58 grams. All right. Let's move on to the next question. Question 2. All right. A container contains 2 liters and 60 milliliters of water. Find the volume of water in 18 such containers. Give your answers in liters. Okay. So in this case, right, what we're going to do is we're going to say one container is equal to 2 liters and 60 milliliters. All right, so if we want to convert this into what do you call this? Liters. So we want to convert 60 milliliters equal to how many liters, right? How many liters? So what we need to do is to have 60, okay, right? Like this, 60 divided by, so if you remember, 60, we need to divide by 1000, okay? Because what we want is essentially 1 liter is equal to 1000 milliliters. Okay, then in this case, 1 milliliter is equal to 1 divided by 1000, right? So if you want to calculate in this case over here, so we can just divide by 1000, right? So what will this give us? So we can cancel this 0 and this 0. So it's basically 6 divided by 100, which is 0.06 liters, right? So now we know that this is equal to 2.06 liters. Then the next thing is we want to get 18, right? 18. You can also double check, right? Using your calculator. So always double check your calculator, right? So if you want to be like extra sure, which I recommend, divide by 1000. Okay, this is 0.6 liters. So now we know that one container is 2.06 liters. So 18 containers, okay, is equal to 18 times 2.06, right? This will give us, so let's use our calculator. So 18 times 2.06 and is equal to 37.08. So 37.08. Right, so always double check your calculator. Don't misread your calculator. All right, and the answer here is 37.08 liters in this case over here. All right, let's move on to the next question. Question 3. Okay, so Mr. Tan wanted to buy 14 cartons of drinks, but he was short of $11.40. Each carton cost $15.20. How much money did Mr. Tan have? Okay, so we want to know how much Mr. Tan have. First, we know that one carton is equal to dollars 15.20, right? And then we also want to know how much is 14 cartons. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to have 14 cartons equal to 14 times 15.20. So use our calculator again. 14 times 15.20, and this gives us $212.80. Okay, so the thing is that he was short. So what do you mean by short in this case? He was short of $11.40. So basically he has not enough money, right? Same, I don't have enough money, but basically he was short means he didn't have. So minus dollars 11.40. So this means that Mr. Tan don't have exactly $212. He was short of $11.40. So how much did Mr. Tan have? Basically 212.80 minus 11.40, right? And this gives us, so we can always go back to our calculator. Then we just minus 11.40, which is equal to $201.40, right? So the answer to this is $201.40 in this case over here. Right, so that's question 3. Now let's move on to question 4. Question 4 says a tap takes 22 seconds to completely fill up a bottle with a capacity of 550 milliliters. So what is the rate of flow in milliliters per second? Okay, so essentially a bottle, right? Let me have a bottle over here, right? I guess this is a bottle. The capacity over here is 550 milliliters, right? So this is a bottle with 550 milliliters. So if you want to pour water on it, so let me draw some water, right, in blue color. So we're gonna pour some water inside it like this. Then this will take roughly around 22 seconds. Okay, right. So how much liter per second will it? What's the rate of flow basically? Okay, so essentially what we can do is we can have 550. Okay, I'm gonna make it black. Divided by, oops, divided by 22, and this will give us. So we can use our calculator again. Wait, where's my calculator? Okay, so my calculator is over here. So we can just say 550 divided by 22. This will give us 25. There you go. So it's 25 milliliter per second. And here we can just say 25 in this case over here. Right, that's it. So that's question 4. So question 5. So we have a very black television. So what's the price of the television including 9% GST? So this price is before GST, right? So before 9% GST is equal to 1299. So include 9% GST, right? So how to do this is basically $1299. So there's two ways to do this lah, right? Think the first way, there's two ways. For me is basically I can just times. So this is in a way 100%. So what I can do is I just say times 109, oops, percent. Okay. So if you go to the calculator, yeah. So let's go to the calculator. So we can have 1299 times 109%. Okay, this will give us the actual answer, which is, wait, where's my calculator? Which is, in this case, $14 and $1,415.91. Okay, So that's essentially the fastest way to do it, right? Another way is to get a GST, right? That's another way. Okay, so the other way is, so before 9% is 1299, right? So this is the TV, right? The TV costs 1299. So we can calculate the 9% GST, right? Which is basically 1299 times 9%, right? And then we can just calculate it from our calculator. So we can just say 1299 times 9%. Okay, and it gives us $116.91 in this case over here, right? Okay, and then so TV plus GST or 9% GST in this case is equal to $129, then plus this GST. Okay, and then if we were to calculate it using our calculator, so 1299 plus 116.91, and then this will give us the same answer, $115.91. Okay, so yeah, that's roughly about it. The beauty of calculators, right? So put 1415.91 in this case over here. All right, so that's it for question 5. So let's go to question 6. So question 6 over here, it says there are 22 girls and 58 boys in a CCA. 30% of the members are primary 6. How many primary 6 students are there in the CCA? Right? So we know there is a total. So we want to get a total number of students in the CCA. Okay, so I will say total students is equal to 22 plus 58. Okay, let's use our calculator. 22 plus 58, and that gives us 80, right? So 80 over here. Right, so now it says here 30% of the members are primary 6 students. So I will say P6 students is equal to 80, and then we multiply it by 30%. So I see over here. Okay, so we can use our calculator, and then we just say multiply by 30%. So these are the primary 6 students, and the answer to this is 24. Okay, so primary 6 students is 24 in this case over here. Right, there you go. Okay, so yeah, so that's the cool thing about having to use calculator. Easy peasy. If you don't want to use the calculator, there is another way, right? So essentially, we know that right, 100% is equal to 80. 1% is equal to, we have 80 divided by 100. Okay, in this case, equal to 0.8. So you want to have 30%, you can have 30 times 0.8. Okay, and this will give us 24. There you go. Right, so in any case, both ways works. Generally, if you have calculator, this will speed up a lot of things and it's more accurate as well. All right, let's move on to question 7. Okay, question 7 says a water bottle and pencil case cost $2.70, $27.70. A water bottle and a school bag costs $100, $106.10. The school bag costs 8 times as much as a pencil case. What is the cost of the school bag? Right, so this is where we can draw a model to make it a little bit easier to see. All right, so let's do this one. With the highlighter is shitty. Okay, so a water bottle and a pencil case. So that's what we're gonna do. So what we're gonna do is not write anything, but just draw first, right? We have a water bottle. Okay, but in any case also, right? The common thing is the water bottle in both cases over here. So what we're gonna do is we just gonna do that as well, right? So this will be water bottle. Okay, so both have water bottle, right? So I'm gonna do the first case over here. So water bottle and pencil case, right? So what we need to do is to just add them up. So you have your pencil case, right? Yeah, pencil, right? In this case over here, Let's make it as small as possible, like this, right? Pencil case. In this case, this is $27. 27.70. Now the next part is with this, whoops, what is this? The next part is we want to do water bottle and a school bag cost $100 and $106.10. So school bag, at the same time, the school bag is 8 times as much as the pencil case. So that means, I always want to say in this case, right? So that means what we want to do is we have the pencil to be 8 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 8. And then, okay, I don't want the word pencil, so I'm gonna right. So this one unit. We know the pencil case is also 1 unit. I'm just gonna use this arrow to just say this is the pencil case, right? So I'm gonna write here. Let's see if I can pencil. All right, great. This is pencil, and then unit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. Right, and this whole thing is the school bag. School bag. All right. So now we know that this is the school bag, and in total, it is case is $106.10. So $106.10. Okay. So now from this, can we solve it? Let me just make it a little bit smaller so that it fits in right in. Okay. So I think pretty straightforward. How much is a school bag? Okay. So what we can do is actually we can minus, right? If we minus 106 minus 27, so if I put a line with a dotted line over here, right? In a way, we can find the 7 units over here, right? So what we can do is, let me just put this a little bit here. Okay, so 7 units is equal to 106.10 minus 20 minus 27.70. Okay, so we're gonna use our calculator. 106.10 minus 27.7. Okay, and this will give us $78.40. $78 point, oops, so $78.40. Okay, so this is the school bag. So let's go for 1 unit, which is equal to 78.4. Okay, then we divide by 7, right? So what I can do is the calculator, and then we just say divide it by 7. Okay, this gives us $11.20. Right, so 11.20, right, to just double confirm. Okay, now the school bag, how many units are there? Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So that means 8 units is equal to 8 times 11.20. Okay, use calculator, and then we times, we multiply it by 8. Okay, and this gives us the answer 89.60. That's an expensive bag, right? Therefore, the answer to this is $89.60. Okay, there you go. Alrighty, let's move on to the next question. Question 8. Right. Here it says a photocopying machine can print 100 pages in 24 seconds. At this rate, how long will it take for the machine to print 1,600 pages? Okay, so what we need to do is we need to write if 100 pages will be printing 24 seconds. Okay, then 1,600 pages is equal to, right, so from 100 pages to 1,600, how do we arrive to that? Okay, so essentially 100 pages to 1,600, we basically multiply it by 16. So since 100 pages, let me make it a little bit more. Okay, great. Okay, then that means it's basically 16 times 24 seconds. Okay, and this gives us calculator 16 times, whoops, shift X 24, and this gives us 384 seconds. Okay, now with these 384 seconds, oops, I don't this okay, like this, right? All right, so 384 seconds is equal to how many minutes? So if you remember, 1 minute, why we need minutes, because he says here give answers in minute and seconds. So we know that 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds, right? So in a way, if you want to have 1 second, 1 second is equal to 1 minute divided by 60, right? To get how many minutes, right? So in this case, we want to get 384 seconds. So that means we want to have 384 divided by 60 to become minutes, right? So that means, use our calculator, we have to divide by 60, and it gives us 6.4, right, minutes. But the thing is, what is 6.4 minutes in seconds? Okay, so in the decimal, right? Okay, okay, 6.4 minutes, right? But the thing is, we are not putting 6.4 minutes, right? So if I were to write this down, so 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds, correct? Okay, so 0.4 minutes is equal to 60. Is it times 0.4? Okay, in a way, yes. Right, so you have that 60 times 0.4, and this is actually 24 seconds. Therefore, 0.4 minutes, the answer to this is, so 6 minutes, 6.4 is equal to 6 minutes and 24 seconds. In this case over here. Right, so I'm gonna put it over here. Right, so don't put 6.4 minutes, because this is not what this question is asking. This question is asking minutes and seconds. Okay, alrighty, let's move on to the next question. Question 9. A bakery sold a total of 2,600 buns in a day. 45% of the buns were sold in the morning, and 40% of the remaining buns were sold in the afternoon. The rest were sold in the evening. How many buns were sold in the evening? Okay, so we know that we have a total of 2,600 buns. Okay, and then 45% were sold in the morning. So morning is equal to 2,600. Then you multiply by 45%, right? 45%. Okay, so let's do that. Oops. Let's have 2,600 times 45%, and this gives us 1,170. Okay, so then in the afternoon, common mistake is you also 2,600 times 40%. But the thing is, it says here, right, 40% of the remaining buns. So we need to calculate the remaining. Okay, so how much is the remaining? In this case, which is 2,600 minus 1,170. Okay, use the calculator. So 2,600 minus 1,170, and this gives us 1,430. Okay, so now we know the remaining from the morning. Then now we just need to times, right? So 1,430 times 40%. Okay, and this gives us, so we just times 40%, and this will give us 572. All right. So how many were sold in the evening? So we know that in the afternoon we sold 40%. Then the evening is the rest, right? So you see here, the rest. Whoops. Okay. All right. The rest was sold in the evening. Okay. So what we want to do is type in evening is equal to, so we know that the remaining is 1430, and we sold in the afternoon 572, so 1430 minus 572. Okay, same thing, use your calculator. 1430 minus 572, and this gives us 858, and that's it. So that's the answer. Okay, therefore the answer to this is 858 buns. Right. Okay. So let's move on to the next question. Question 10. Okay. This one is okay. Question 10. All right. So in this case, 80,000 adults and 7,000 children attended the National Day Parade. 45% of adults were women and 30% of the children were girls. What percentage of the spectators were women and girls? So one common mistake is like one of my students sees, okay, you want the percentage for women and girls, okay lah, just add this 45%, 30%, right? So that's what they do, right? They just say, oh, the total, the answer is 45% plus 30% equal to 75%. That's it, right? Not 74, 75%. And that's the answer for 4 marks question. Wow. Right? So in the end, it's not as easy, right? So what we need to do is we need to calculate according to what the question is asking, meaning that in this case, right, 45% of adults are women. So we have 18,000 adults. Okay. So first, let's do that. Adults is equal to 18,000. So woman is basically 18,000 times 45%. Okay, so let's use the calculator. So 18000, so 18,000 times 45%, and that is equal to 8,100. Okay, so we have our first part already done. Okay, the next part, okay, is this. 30% of the children will go, so 7,000 children. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, in this case, we're going to say that children is equal to 7,000. So girls is equal to 30%, right? So 7,000 times 30%. So 7,000 times, oops, I'll use the calculator. 7,000 times 30%. This gives us 2,100. Okay, now we want to, at the same time, we want to say what percentage of the spectators were women and girls. So spectators, right? So if you were to, whoops, spectators are basically both the adults and children. Okay, so spectators, you go to 18,000 plus, or total, all right? Total spectator, you got 80,000 plus 7,000. And this will give 25,000. Right? And then we have the total spectators, and then we also want to have the woman and girl. All right. So what we can do is, in this case, woman plus girls, or I will say female, right? Easier, is equal to 8,100 plus 2,100. This gives us 10,200. Okay. All right. So let's double confirm, right? So 8,100 plus 2,100 go to 10,200. Okay, so percentage female, so percentage of female is equal to 10,200, and then we divide it by the total spectators. Okay, so divided by 25,000, and then times 100%. Okay, so if I were to do this in the calculator, calculator, so we divide it by 25,000. Okay, and then times 100%. Okay, that means is 0.408, or in this case, let me just remove this, is 40.8%. Okay, so that's the answer. That's the answer. 40.8%. Right? So that's the percentage of female or spectators who are movement angles. So the answer here is 40.8% in this case. There you go. All right, let's move on to question 11. Okay, question 11, it says here, Allie saved $1.40 each day from Monday to Friday. She saved $2.10 each day for Saturday and Sunday. She started saving on Monday. How many days did it take for Allie to save $49? Okay, so let's, in a way, we can visualize this. All right, so it looks something like this. Right, so from Monday to Friday. Okay, so from Monday to Friday is $1.40, and then Saturday, Sunday is $2.10. Okay, so in a way, 1 week, right, is equal to, so Monday to Friday is 5 days, so 5 times 1.40 plus they have $2.10, which is 2 days, weekends, right, times $2.10. Okay, okay, then what we're gonna do is we're gonna use our calculator. The answer is $11.20. But I'm gonna share with you 5 times 1.40 plus 2 times 2.10. Okay, equals to $11 and wait, I forgot what's the number. Okay, so the number is $11.20. Okay, so 11.20. Okay, so now she started saving on Monday. How many days in this case did Allie take to save $49? Right, so basically 1 week is $11, so we just, in a way, you want to get the number of weeks. Okay, so what we're going to do is number of weeks is equal to 49. Okay, the total amount that we divided by 11, wait, sorry, divide, okay, by 11.20. Okay, so let's use our calculator. So 49 divided by 11.20. Okay, that gives us 4 weeks roughly. So 4.375. That's around 4 weeks. Okay, if we round up to the nearest whole number, okay, let me use a curly equal sign. It's around 4 weeks, right? 4 weeks over here. Let me not bold it, right? So number of weeks is 4. So in essence, we have dollars 49, okay, which is the total minus $11.20 times 4. Okay, so in essence, 49 minus 11.20 times times 4, this gives us $4.20. $4.20. Okay, so why do we only have 4 weeks? Is because this 3.75, it only works if all of the days are the same. So, but Saturday and Sunday is different. So we just take it as 4. Because if I were to do this, right, then what I'm going to do is, I'm going to see here, this is dollars 11.20, right? So one row is 11.20. So if I do this 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, in total, okay, in total, okay, this big view, right, very big view, this is actually only how much? So it's 11.2 times 4 is actually $44.80. Okay, so that is how much we have collected all together, right, in this case for 4 weeks only, right? This is 4 weeks, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. That's why we just minus off to get the remaining $4.20. Okay, so that means in this case, we have a couple of days that we are missing over here, right? So how many days are left? So we have $4.20. We start from Monday again. So that means we can divide. So number of days is equal to 4.20. Then we divide by 1.4, right? So let's have this divide by 3. Sorry, 1.4. I already gave the answer. This is 3. Okay, if I were to use the calculator, so divide by 3, 1.4 is 3. Okay, yeah, this is 3. So we have Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Okay, like this. And in total, this will give us $4.20. Okay, and then if we combine this 420 plus $4.80, this will give us $49. Okay, so hopefully this makes sense. Okay, it's a lot. All right, let's move on to the last question. Question 12. Okay, question 12 says the table shows the charges for taxi fare. The first 2 kilometers or less over here is $4.80. Every additional 400 meters or part thereof is $0.35. Okay, so Mr. Anderson's trip was 6 kilometers. How much did he pay for his ride? Okay, so first kilometer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down. So I'm going to put here medium. Okay, first 2 kilometers is equal to dollars 4.80. So what is the remaining? It's equal to, so total trip is 6, right? So first 2 kilometers, we need to pay $4.80. I'm gonna just use the arrow. Okay, so trip is equal to 6 kilometers, right? So the remaining will be 6 minus 2 equal to 4 kilometers, which is equal to how many meters? So if you remember, 1 km is equal to how many meters? 1000 meters, right? So let's put this here. Okay, 1 kilometer to 1,000. So 4 kilometers equal to 4,000 meters. So now we know that one block of 400 meters is equal to an additional 0.35 cents. So how many blocks? So number of 400 meter block is equal to, so I'm going to push this here. Number of 400 meter block is equal to 4,000, and then we want to divide it. Okay, we want to divide it by 400, and this is equal to 10 blocks. So since one block is 400 meters, then 10 blocks over here, way down here. Oops, what is it? Okay, 10 blocks of 400 meters is equal to 35 cents times 10, which is equal to dollars 3.50. So I'm gonna put here, put a line here, so it's easier to put like that. And then I'm just gonna change it like this. It should be here. Okay, blocks of 400 meters is 12.50 cents. So total is equal to 4.80 plus 3.5. Then this will equal to, so we can use our calculator, 4.8 plus 3.5. This gives us dollars 8.30. Therefore, this is $8.30. All right, and then the last part. Okay, Mrs. Smith paid $15.65 for a trip. What was the greatest distance she could have traveled? So she paid $15.65. Okay, so in this, her trip cost her $15.65. So we know the first kilometer, first 2 km is $4.80. So that means remaining paid is equal to 15.65, right? Oops, minus 4.80. Okay, and let's use the calculator. 15.65 minus 4.8, and this gives us $10.85. Okay, from what we see over here. So now we have $10.85. So we know that one block of 400 meters is 35 cents. Okay, and we also can say that 35 cents is also equal to one block of 400 meters. So what we can do is same thing, number of 400-meter blocks, which is equal to basically 10, 10.85, and then we divide it, right? We divide it by 0.35. Okay, so let's use the calculator. 10.85 divided by 0.35, and it gives us 31. Okay, so we know that this is 31 blocks, right? And then same thing, we're just gonna paste it over here. So that means the 31 block of 400 meters is equal to how many, the distance, right? So it's basically 31 times 400 is equal to, so let's go back, we multiply by 400. Okay, this gives us 12,400 meters, and then this can be converted to kilometers, right? So in this case, we can divide by 1000. This gives us 12.4 kilometers. All right, so does it say anything about having to put into kilometers? Okay, no, right? So total, okay, since we know we have 31 blocks of 400 meters and we also paid 2 kilometers, so that means we need to just add 2 plus 12.4, and this gives us 14.4 kilometers, right? So common mistake is never convert meters to kilometers and not adding the 2 kilometers as well. Okay, so this will be 14.4 kilometers in this sense over here. Okay, so that's about it for this. Okay, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want more of this kind of video, subscribe down below and comment down what other, papers you want me to go through next. See you in the next one. Bye bye.